Okay, we're going to talk about the female reproductive system now. So just to sort of get our bearings again, this is of course the rectum and part of the end part of the colon, and the anus, so coming outside. This is the pubis bone. So that's pretty much just like the male also. And the female has, of course, is an innie instead of an outie. So instead of the testes being outside the body, the ovary is inside the body. And we're going to look at the traveling of an oocyte down the tubes into the uterus. So what's happening here is the ovary will produce the oocytes, and they will go down the oviduct, also known as the fallopian tube. You've probably heard of that before. There are two of these. There's one on each side. So kind of the same order, the same way that the testes had two. So this would be, the oviduct is homologous with the vas deferens, and also the ovary homologous with the testes, right? And then it's leading to the uterus, and the uterus is kind of a muscular sac. It can expand quite a bit, of course, because it's going to have a baby that's developing in there. And the uterus wall right here is the part that is developing through the cycle. And during menses, the uterus wall will slough off and come outside the body. If an oocyte was traveling down and it got embedded in the wall, it could become a baby. Otherwise, it's going to be sloughed off with the uterus wall and go through the cervix, which is a muscular opening, a very small opening, and then it will go down the vagina to the outside of the body. So some outside features are the labia major, which is like big folds of skin, the labia minor, small folds of skin, and then of course the clitoris, which has sort of similar parts that the penis would have on the end. And then this is just showing you fat and stuff like that. Okay, from the front view, similar to the male, it's going to have two and two leading down to the uterus. The main difference here is this is not the prostate gland. Okay? All right, so let's go over the hormones. The hormones are more complicated with the female, but some of the names of the hormones will become more apparent. So I'm going to back out here so you can see well and stop the video and take notes if you would like. All right, so we're going to go through the female hormonal control. So there's basically four stages of the hormonal control or the female reproduction. The first stage is menses. Menses is, of course, the sloughing of the uterine wall. What is happening there is basically the uterine wall becomes engorged with capillaries, soft tissue, and that tissue, it's very fluffy, for lack of a better word, that will, if a fertilized ovum comes down, then it can embed in that wall and start developing as a baby. But if it's not, so this is, non-pregnancy, if it was not fertilized, then what's going to happen is it will be under the rest of this hormonal control, all right? So what happens is, just like in the male, the hypothalamus will release the gonadotropin releasing hormone to the anterior pituitary gland, which then releases luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Those hormones, especially follicle stimulating hormone, is going to influence a follicular development. So what a follicle is a group of cells that are surrounding the oocyte, or the cell that is going to become the actual ovum. All right, so it's basically starting to develop, and that's sort of stimulating that cell. Also, it's going to start producing estradiol. Estradiol will then cause the oocyte to develop into the secondary oocyte, the primary oocyte, and then the secondary. And that's the one that's going to become the ovum that travels down the oviduct. Estradiol will also cause the endometrium to develop. So in other words, the endometrium will start getting developing and getting more invaginated and fluffy. And then as the estradiol sort of peaks out, and luteinizing hormone and FSH also are still high because they have been being produced by the pituitary gland. This causes the release of the secondary oocyte from the follicle. So this is the ovum. It's going to go down the oviduct, and in this case, not meet with the sperm. And then after that, what happens is the follicle will develop into the corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone and estradiol. And what that does is that stimulates the hypothalamus, well, actually the pituitary gland, to stop producing LH and FSH. So they go really low. And then the corpus luteum will also decline, and that will stop producing progesterone and estradiol. So all the hormones will be at their lowest, and we start again. That is, the hormones are at their lowest, and the uterine wall will slough. Okay, so